new show, Seychelles at Heart, that's what I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
And I want to just start off by asking you a little bit about your journey and who you are.
All right, so I'm Lucy Barois. I'm the head teacher and founder of the Children's House, the Montessori School in Bel Air, which is just about almost 25 years old. We've been here 25 years. I came here to Seychelles to start up the school, which thankfully, happily, was embraced by the community, and we've had thousands of children that have gone through our school.
Nice, yeah. Okay. So in terms of Seychelles and your experiences with setting up this school and getting everything off the ground, how did you find it?
Well, at the beginning it was, to be honest, quite scary and frustrating. We didn't have any connection with the Seychelles at all. I came here twice by myself to suss it out, and it was actually welcomed very well by the people. The procedure was impossible because this type of school had never been set up before. So I just went in circles. I was sent from Minister of Education to the Minister of Planning to Licensing to running around in circles. And I was here, my husband was still living in Laos. I had two small children. It was very hard at the beginning, as you can imagine. And finally, I was introduced to the right person, and suddenly everything just dropped into place. And the school opened after a couple of months. So I was always very grateful for that. And since then, it's been fantastic. The school has grown, its heart has grown enormously. We are a lot more professional, if you like. We've had a lot of people have passed through our training. I've educated a lot of young people in teaching, a lot of people as assistants, teachers, trainee teachers. Myself, I have learned incredible amount as well. I've upgraded myself, masters and everything while I've been here. So it's a learning community. It's not just a preschool, it's a learning community.
And I love the concept. I think it's great, definitely. But in terms of, basically, I wanted to ask you a little bit about this land as well. Just jump right into it. Because you wanted to basically extend the school and start some sort of green project for the kids in Seychelles, which I think is such an amazing thing. And I'd love for you to share a little bit about that idea and why it hasn't actually happened. It's a huge conversation, especially at the moment, because obviously there's all this issue around Aslamouche and the development there. So I thought it'd be a really interesting time to pick people's brains, people like you, and see where you're at, the things that you're trying to put in place in Seychelles, and where your struggles are.
Okay, well, my passion is really the environment, and I've done a lot of research into conservation, and the greatest gift that we can give as early childhood educators is to nurture the natural tendency towards nature in small children. We are born with almost another intelligence, like all the other intelligence, emotional intelligence, whatever. There is also an intelligence for nature. It's been termed many different things, but you will always see in small children, they're always attracted by water, by mud, by tiny little bugs and insects. They're very aware, because we are nature.
Absolutely.
We are 75% water, like the earth. We are a part of the nature. We've become very, very disconnected, and we've lost that contact. That is through our life. It's not humans, because children are always born with it, but we lose it. And so we need to maintain it, because these children, they will not grow up wanting to preserve the earth, wanting to conserve it, unless we nurture that tendency. They have to maintain that tendency. As soon as they're disconnected, they won't understand why we need to preserve endemic plants, why we need to protect them, species of animals that are becoming extinct. They won't understand it. They won't get it. It's not important to them. Whereas if they still have that burning passion for the environment, they will do everything they can to protect it. So the state of the earth at the moment, we all know, is in a very bad way. So what can we do? So my idea originally was to have a forest school here. The forest school is very popular all over the world, and the basic concept is that you take children out into wild places that are safe, not safe in that there is a boundary so that they can't just disappear, but safe, but not safe in that they can't take risks. So there are fallen branches and logs and holes and mud and cliffs, and children have to learn how to take risks in nature as well. But the whole thing is that they go out there, and you have people who are properly trained to guide them and to confuse them and to create different situations, like building dens, maybe building a bridge or a raft with natural materials. This is the kind of thing, making a fire, cooking on a fire, all these kinds of things you would do in a forest school. So this was part of my plan to nurture that tendency in children to have a forest school that all the schools could bring their children to on a regular basis. And so I actually wrote up a proposal, and I had somebody I was going to apply for a grant through the JEF project, and I mean I'm talking about 15 years ago now, and I had all the plans written up, and the whole idea was that we were going to do it here. And it was a community-based project for Bel Air, employing people to help to maintain it, to set it up, because there was obviously a lot of work that we wanted to do there. We had the Bello School was very excited. We had the other daycare up in Sanssouci. We had people really keen on this.
Absolutely, I can imagine why.
So I went to see the First Lady at that time. She was also very excited. I wanted her endorsement. And then it got to the point we said, okay, I knew that the land was still for the government because in the registrar it was government property. But the First Lady said, I think we should just check up on this land. And somehow it seemed like there was a big red cross. It was untouchable and nobody could say anything. It was just like, no, you're not going to get that land. So obviously it was earmarked for something else. And I haven't given up. I go through different times when I go back to, now it's actually the top part is under the Ministry of Environment, because they're doing a project on the invasive species. They're trying to control all the vines and everything seems to be working. But there was a couple of days after I had been to the ministry and spoken to somebody there about it, and 2 days later they were here planting trees and putting up endemic palms, which is not really very, we could have still done something really nice. I had a whole landscape plant with like a sensory corner and places where children could go to discover. So, this land doesn't really seem to be available. I don't believe these other projects are going to be going ahead that they had earmarked for there, but
it's just so sad that a project like that, which is so amazing and really necessary for a country like Seychelles, does not get approved and gets blocked. Yet when I look around, I see that foreign development is just so much easier to get approval. And it just really makes me believe that the way that our country runs is got to do with money. And I know that's not a secret, it's everywhere in the world, but I really thought that this time it was going to be different. And it's not like I don't know enough about it to kind of jump on my high horse and start judging people in the government. But I do definitely think that in Seychelles we need more of these kinds of developments for the future generations. And one of the things that I see a lot in my own work and my own personal development is that we are actually made to be in nature. That's how we've evolved, and more they're actually finding out through scientific evidence that people are actually getting sick because we're so far removed from nature. We don't connect our feet to the ground, we lose mobility in our feet, our whole body doesn't even know how to function in nature anymore. And it's super sad. So I thought it would be a really interesting conversation to have about this. So where are you now in that in that sense?
So in terms of developing a forest school, we've hit that brick wall. Since last year, after the first COVID lockdown and things, we've actually been taking the children out a lot more. We are at Echo School, and every week I was taking groups of children out hiking. And that was an amazing experience because, like you say, at the beginning you have the children like, ooh, there's a bit of mud on my shoes, you know. And after several weeks, they were all just like, you know, like hiking and noticing things and being aware and being careful and getting excited and being able to go further. You know, we go up to Marcochon, we've been up to the Hut at Trois Frères, we've been all over the place, and they're stronger, they're more excited, and so that's really something positive. And that just proves to me that even more that children need it. I must say that when we come back to school, the parents come and say, oh, but you're all dirty. And I say, no, it's not dirt, this is soil. You know, so there are attitudes that the parents are putting onto the children as well. So we have to educate them as well. Yeah. Why are we doing that? Why do children go home covered in mud and dirt and things like this? It's totally normal. You know, this is part of their learning pathway.
I mean, humans as well, we are made to migrate. That's what we've done throughout history. So losing that connection to actually being able to move on different surfaces, is not linear and flat, is so important.
Exactly. And this is why I was quite excited by this land, because it seems pretty steep, but it's, you know, there are areas that were flat, and we had designed it so that we had a natural slide, but you would have big boulders. And when we take children, for example, to the botanical gardens, there's one area where it's all grassy and then a slope. A lot of children don't even know how to run down a hill. Yeah. They just sort of like, plop and fall down. You know, we're basically doing that with children because they're just not getting out enough into nature. Climbing on a rock. I can see we have some children in the school who are very in touch with nature, and you can see the difference in them is unbelievable. Yeah. And they're always the ones that are leading the others. They're the ones that are climbing to the top of the rock. They have the balance, they have control, they've got the core muscles, and they're totally engaged with everything around them. And they are the ones that the other children are looking at and copying. So it's great that we do have a mixture, but it's important for all of them.
And I guess their headspace as well is very different, connected, grounded.
Yeah. So in terms of developing the school, that's another whole story. I don't know whether you want to go into that.
Well, I mean, I'm interested to see why something like this, you've been trying 15 years, and I really want to understand why something like Aslamouche is being developed at the moment.
Exactly.
And something that, you know, you've been trying to do for 15 years, which is actually good for the country, is not being...
So as far as the school is concerned, because, you know, we've been through lots of waves, and obviously my motivation as the person driving this and wanting it for the children, you know, comes in fits and spurts. It depends on who the parents are, and when the parents are enthusiastic and understand what I'm trying to do, then they give a lot of support, and that's great. But then, you know, you start to get worn down, because every time you come up against a brick wall, you say, oh, what? I don't have to be here, I don't have to be doing this. Why am I doing? I'm not doing it for anyone but this lot, children. As far as the school is concerned, 20 years I've been trying to develop a school, trying to get land. We've had a waiting list for years and years and years. We've been through a whole process again. So one of the reasons trying to get this land was to be able to also build a primary classroom on it. We wanted to be able to take the Montessori all the way through, up to secondary school or beyond, wherever, like in other countries, to be able to give parents a choice of education for their children. Not everybody would want this, but these are people who are aware and who know that there is a different type of education. And so, to cut a long story short, we were offered a piece of land at Perseverance that was by the roundabout, opposite the petrol station. We battled for about a year because it was a very small plot. We wanted more, we wanted parking, we wanted whatever. I finally got to a point, I had a lawyer, I had the architect, I had everybody. We went to the department, land transport division, and when we showed them the plans, they said, no, you can't put a school here, it's too close to the roundabout, it's on the highway. So this closed down, and the next year we see that the school has been built in the exact same location. It's not a location that I would want anyway for anybody's child, because of this, what is around it. So this is why I did say, well, this is, you know, after land transport, I'm not going to fight this anymore. It's not an ideal location for the kind of school that we're in the process of trying to build. At one point, the planning said to us, okay, we'll go around Mahe and find a piece of land that you would like. I said, well, what belongs to the government? I don't know which is government. He said, oh, just go and find something and then you can look on the register. Of course, that was ridiculous. We would love a piece of land in the forest or somewhere. It doesn't, be looking for 5,000-6,000 square meters, somewhere where we can really build something amazing. I have the funding, I have a backer, I have somebody who wants to invest in this, not for money. You don't make money out of a school. Yeah. They know this. They have another school in somewhere else, and he wants to come and have a Montessori school here that goes all the way through. So this is what my dream is. This is what I get excited about. But the Seychelles deserves it.
It really does.
And it's such a small country that anything is possible.
Yeah.
And we can do something amazing here, but we just got to get it right.
And it seems like we need to get organized.
Yeah.
And I actually really want to know, how do you feel right now? Because I know that you were there for the protest for Asamush. How are you feeling seeing all these big developments happen when you're trying to actually give back and you're just being blocked? And
yeah, it's very, very, very disheartening. It's very hard to find the motivation to scrape yourself up off the floor and carry on. It's just not there. I can't really think of another word for it, and you can't understand it because, like I said, I'm not doing this for me. Why would I want to give myself more work? I'm not doing it for me. I can see the potential in the children. I can see the problems with the education system here.
Yeah.
I can see the problems in the early childhood section.
Oh, we can all see it.
And I can see it in the young people today, and it's because of the early childhood, the poor early childhood education and care here in the Seychelles is why the people are who they are now. And that's the most frustrating thing here.
Yeah.
So the babies, the people who were babies when I first came here, they're the young people now, and they're just sitting around waiting to be told what to do. I'm generalizing, but when I meet young people, it's really sad to think of their knowledge and their desire to want to grow and learn and be inquisitive, and create and explore. It's not there. It's killed when they're 2 years old.
Yeah, and also I feel like a lot of these kids grow up in a society where we're so focused on tourism that there is no real other choice to become innovative and find new things to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's one of my biggest frustrations living in Seychelles and why I left for so long. So how do you feel about living in Seychelles since you've been here so long?
Yes, so that's a very interesting
yes.
one. Actually, I'm very content. So, we have been lucky enough over the years to travel quite a bit, and I love traveling. I find that when you do leave Seychelles, you need that injection of ideas and creativity and just other things, otherness that are going on around you, just to see and you realize, wow, everything else is going on. But there is so much here, and I've discovered this over the last year, not being able to travel. Every weekend we're hiking, we're on the sea, we're out there doing things, and I think most people don't make the most of it. We are very, very blessed that we're not in some cold city where you just can't do anything right now. But for myself, in terms of my own development and creativity, I'm okay at the moment. I enjoy watching my children thrive. So they were all educated here, and they've all discovered amazing career pathways, and very, very different. And that's thanks to the upbringing here. But we are a multicultural family, and so that obviously has an essence to it as well.
I love Seychelles. That's why I came back and decided to live here. I love it. I just find the government really frustrating, and I feel like I have never really had faith in the government in Seychelles, and this time I actually started to develop faith, and that faith is slowly starting to shrivel away once again.
Yeah. I think there's, I think trust is something very interesting. It's very, very hard to trust people. I've had so many people trying to bribe me at the school to take their children. So many people from so many different backgrounds. Either, it's a very fine line. So I scratch your back, you scratch mine. So they wanting to do deals with me so that I will take their child. And I'm not only talking from businesses and companies, but also politicians. As I said, I've had all the president's children have been here. Renee, Michelle, all their children have been at school. Yeah, not Mr. Franco. Maybe a grandchild one day. all the presidents and so many ministers, and they've done nothing. Zero to assist. I wouldn't expect them to pull any strings, but I would expect them to give some support in helping the school to develop. Even recently, somebody in planning said that they were helping to try and get the project forward, and then wanted his grandchild to come to school, and I told him very politely, I'm sorry, your grandchild is on the waiting list, they will have to wait their turn. And he threw his toys out of the cot and got all grumpy. And I said, but this is the way it is.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is the way it's done in Seychelles, but I am not going to give in to it. I stick to my values, and this is what maybe comes out of it.
Yeah.
But I think trust is something really, really interesting. Lack of trust, and difficult to know who you can trust as well.
Lack of transparency.
Yeah.
So are you going to keep fighting to try and get the school up and running?
Well, the situation now is that there is a piece of land located at Ularor for us. So now we're back, but obviously the land is all being delayed again. So we were promised this 3 years ago by Minister Charlotte. She promised us verbally that we would get 6,000 square meters. But here we are 3 years still down the line, and there's nothing concrete. We still don't have a contract. We still don't have anything. This is 3 years.
Yeah,
I know the land is not developed. They have to put the beacon, but it's so slow.
I know it
and
is.
This is why when you see a project like Armstrong, I don't know when they signed and agreed all of this, but now the diggers are already in there, demolishing the environment. And how come this happens so quick?
Yeah, I know.
That's what I don't understand.
And especially now during COVID, everything's shut down, and they've asked everybody to close earlier, which doesn't make sense to me, because you've got even more people coming into that short time frame. So there's even more risk for contamination. Just doesn't make sense. And it really makes me question how things are thought out and how procedures are put in place. Because when I look around, I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And I think it's time we start having these conversations and stop being scared of who we might offend, because you know, so much is just going on behind people's backs in the dark, and I'm so fed up. It's just the way it is in Seychelles.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you on a positive note, what is the most exciting thing in your life at the moment, and what's the most exciting part about living in Seychelles that you really love?
Right now, I do find that you can. What I do love is that you can find some real gems here, and I love to nurture them and help them to grow into people that can really achieve things in their life. And I'm talking about young people who maybe want to have a career in teaching.
Yeah.
This is, for me, it has been a massive enjoyment and very fulfilling, being able to help people to find that pathway and to develop themselves as teachers, or even teaching assistants, and for them to find their passion as well. That's what I really enjoy, and it does make me very excited, believe it or not.
No, it makes sense, definitely.
And I love to see our students growing and developing and seeing what they're doing in their lives. That's very, very exciting as well. I'm not living my life through everyone else's eyes. I still love the teaching. I love the daily interactions with the children. I really enjoy that, and I really enjoy creating learning opportunities. That's my passion, and I've been here all during lockdown. Every day I'm here. I'm running a class. I'm looking for ideas. I'm researching and different things and bringing it to the children. So that's really, I still love that. I may be a head teacher, but actually I'm still a teacher.
Yeah. And you're very involved. You're always here.
Yeah.
You've got your heart into it, and I think everybody that knows you knows that about you.
Yeah.
But how would you like to see things change in Seychelles, and how would you like to see Seychelles develop in the future?
yeah, I want to see people more accountable. I want to see people taking charge of themselves a little bit more and having dreams and being able to live their dreams and follow their dreams and be entrepreneurs and be able to start projects. I know that so many young people do have ideas and want to start things, but again, you just get this brick wall and the bureaucracy and the paperwork is just horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. I mean, we've tried to start many other things here. We wanted to start a pirate project of the reclaimed land at Bellon. We had a beautiful project years and years ago. We tendered for the land and everything, and just the land is still sitting empty there. In the end, I think the whole sort of project fell apart. But that was an amazing thing. We had the architectural plans. It was going to be a museum for the tourists, but then somewhere like a water park for children where they could go and play, and but there are, I'm sure this is just our ideas and plans, but I'm sure people do have. But where are they? Why aren't we seeing these wonderful things popping up?
Well, that's it. And I feel like the majority of people like yourself that I speak to who do have these amazing ideas and want to do something innovative and really give back to the community are blocked. Yes. And I've experienced that myself with the NGO. And I just think something's really got to change.
We need to, like I said the other day, we need to think beyond the end of our nose. And this whole thing, why I was joining this silent protest, because, the wild places that we have on this island, I've said it before, is our gold. This is the lifeblood of the Seychelles. Everybody comes here, and this is what everyone's saying, because it is beautiful, because it is, to some extent, still very much pristine, beautiful. You can walk in the mountains, and you'll be in a place where you've seen absolutely no development, no houses, and you can feel it. The energy is really, really amazing. And we have to work to protect that. We cannot get rid of that. And we want to be one of the few places in the world where we do keep it.
Yeah.
From a global perspective, it's got to be maintained, it's got to be protected, but also from a national perspective as well. And we have to realize that. You can't just keep bleaching it off and getting rid of it and selling it and destroying it.
Yeah,
and people were arguing about why we're going to develop, we're going to leave the wetlands, we're going to build here. You cannot do that. You've got to leave the whole thing protected. That just doesn't work.
It doesn't make sense. And when I watch the speech and I see how they're giving very thin justifications for, this part of the wetland's going to be fine, there's going to be no environmental impact, it's such a pile of horse shit. It really is. And we know that it's not true, that there's not going to be an environmental impact. So I guess there's a lot of heightened emotions and frustrations, and it is really sad. But I definitely hope that you continue fighting to get your school up and running.
Yeah. So we're looking for, developing the school, and if we can do a forest school somewhere. So the final conversation that I had with the Ministry of Environment when they told me that they were doing the invasive vine project here, I said, okay, well, is there somewhere else that we can do a forest school? Because I would love to set it up and manage it and make it a community project. And all school children would benefit from it because they would be able to bring their students in. But it needs to be, somewhere that is wild and suitable, and we can keep it that way.
Mm. Instead of just exploiting nature again and again and again, and then finding ourselves in 20 years' time in the real pit.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to a few people in environment, and I find it really interesting what they say about the coastlines and coastal development, and even rock armoring, and how that actually affects the natural cycle.
Of course it does. Once you start meddling with nature, it's
so at what point is it actually going to stop? And it's just, I'm really trying to understand for myself what it is that we actually can do to change things. And I'm not really sure. That's why I figured
to change the mindset.
Yeah.
Well, I think now, you would have thought now that everyone would have had a bit of a shock in terms of the tourism trade and realised, well, okay, how long will it take for this to recuperate? And why are we still building more hotels? Even like, you see these places, during this sort of lockdown period, or lockdown because we've been out hiking, we've been visiting some of the old sites, old hotel sites. Long Island, we went on the kayak out to Long Island, beautiful place, just destroyed. We've been to Ecuador
Yeah.
on the other side there, just again an amazing location.
Very beautiful.
It has been taken over by nature, but it's there. All these other locations all over the place where hotels were, Mahe Beach, let's use these footprints instead of creating new footprints. It's not
Yeah, well, hopefully that is something that's going to change eventually. I guess it'll take time, right?
Yeah. So realizing, I think it's going to hurt, and then people will realize, okay, tourism really is not the thing.
Because it's sort of asking for a whole new way of doing things.
Yeah.
But I think that's such an amazing opportunity, and that's what a lot of people say about COVID.
Exactly.
It's such a good opportunity to
rethink everything.
Exactly. Yeah. So on a last note, what would you do if you were running the country? What would you do differently?
I would invest heavily in totally revamping the education system, from birth until all the way through, because it's just not right.
No. And I think a lot of people feel that way. We have a lot of things to focus on, the hospitals, the schools. There's a lot of internal work that needs to be done.
But even, hospitals, look at all the people who are obese, the diet. This is lack of education. If we bring up our children on fresh local fruit and healthy foods, you're going to cut out all of that obesity, all of those heart problems, all of those blood diseases, all of the cancers. This is going to save money in the end.
Yeah.
So, for me, it all stems from that side of education. We're just plugging holes. We're just fixing things. We're not getting to the root of the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, I guess we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much.